All right, good afternoon, everyone. This is Jared with selfliquid.com. So we've got about 24 minutes left in the cash session today, and another pretty strong day for the indexes and for tech and really just the markets in general. Really across the board, you don't see many things in the red right now. We're still kind of chewing through this resistance. So if you've been, paying attention with us the last couple of days, I've been talking about all this overhead resistance that the Nasdaq has been chewing through. And right now we're sitting above this first pretty big level from the high to low swing. So this 38.2. And now we've met this 618 from this high to low swing here. So let's take a look at the FANG stocks. There's a few things in there that may be telling of kind of what's to come. So let me just pull that up just a second. Okay. So here's the FANG index I have. So it's a combination of Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, Google, and so this is something I set up on the index just so you could kind of see if Thinkorswim will react here. There we go. Actually, let me close some stuff. I think my computer's struggling. Okay, so let me get back to that. So I've got the FANG index here, and so if we look at this on a weekly chart, and you can actually even see it on a daily, but we'll look at the weekly first. So from a weekly perspective here, we have this pretty clean looking head and shoulders pattern setting up, and it aligns pretty nicely with the 50% retracement of this high to low swing. Now, this is just an index that I've created for the FANG stocks, but basically, it seems to work pretty well. And the FANG stocks, in my mind, are really what has drove the market over the last few years and has led sort of the way down. So last Friday, Apple had the big or actually, sorry, I think that was Wednesday afternoon. Thursday morning is when it really happened, but I may be getting the days off. But either way, last week Apple announced, they're projecting lower sales. A lot of this is driven by sort of the trade war with China, and they're expecting, a lot less iPhone sales. So that really, rocked the market, drove everything lower. And as you can see, when we're getting into an area where maybe tomorrow, we'll test sort of this 114.39 is what the 50% level is at. You'll see, this aligns really nicely with this left shoulder, if you will. And that's just something to pay attention to because this is a reversal type pattern, and we are, in this downtrend. And so basically anything right now is really just you really still want to be in the kind of sell the rally type mode, I think. So let's go ahead and just jump back into a few stocks. So we'll start with Apple. All right, so Apple, I mean, as I kind of mentioned, like most of the FANG stocks, has had a pretty nice bounce. Today, Apple's up 2% and is just now kind of coming into this basically first standard deviation to the downside off this 34 EMA. So that's at 153.34, and we're just above that right now. So Apple is still a ways off from the 34 EMA, which is what I kind of look at as the mean. And you can see though from like the 195 minute perspective, this would be basically 2 bars per day. Whoops, not what I meant to do. Okay. So you can see that on the 195-minute chart, we already have got back to the mean. And, it's just an area where I'm looking where, possibly tomorrow if we get a spike up. I mean, I've been early. I was short Facebook and Netflix with just a call spread. Ended up closing both those today just because they're kind of moving in the wrong direction. So if we look at Amazon really quick, Amazon has butted up right against resistance here. And, Amazon is one like Apple in that it is really, drove a lot of the overall action in the market. And so this is an area where with these squeezes kind of setting up short term, on the 39 and 13-minute chart, I'm considering selling call spreads, that would expire possibly next week or the week after. So let me take a look at that real quick here. So yeah, I could sell the January 25 weekly contracts, could sell something like the 16. Let's see here. Yeah, so could do something like selling the 1660. So that's the out of the money call. So let me just see what that would look like. So sell vertical. And I use Thinkorswim. There's a lot of different platforms out there. This is my favorite. Yeah, so this isn't bad. So I think I'm going to go ahead and do one of these here. So I'm going to be selling the 1660, and let's see, actually, let's do a little bit wider. All right, so could do the 1660, sell the 1660, buy the 1670. It's nearly a 1-to-1 spread, so you're basically risking 493 to make 507. I'm gonna go ahead and let's just take a look here. Let's just do one more thing. So Ivy is actually pretty low here on Amazon. Historical volatility is actually a lot higher, so it makes me actually want to do a little something different here since the vol is actually a little lower on those options. So I'm just kind of looking at, I've got my other chart up here, just looking at different options. So I'm looking at either doing selling a call spread or buying a put debit spread here on Amazon. So I haven't done anything just yet on Amazon, but I mean, I really am thinking, like I said, that we are going to see a move short, just definitely in the short term at least. If you recall, just looking at the FANG index here, I mean, Amazon looks pretty similar, simply because it and Apple really make a big portion of that. There's just so much kind of resistance here that I kind of want to do something now. Being that Amazon's such a big stock, I mean, $1,650, trying to do a debit spread gets pretty expensive. So what I think I may do is just go ahead and do the sell the out of the money call spread. Let's see if we can get filled here. So, all right, so all right, so I've got a working order here on Amazon to sell the 1660 and buy the 1670 as protection. So with 16 days out, it's basically a 1-to-1. Um, so we'll let that work here for a minute or two. If with about 5 minutes left, I'll adjust it if need be. But I've got that at a $5 credit, so it's risking $5 to make $5. So with just 10 minutes left, let's kind of do another quick run through of things. Let's look at so in NIM, or Newmont Mining, is a long I have here. So I bought calls this morning on this, and everything looks pretty good here. Have the squeeze setting up on weekly, daily, 195, hourly, and even a 13. Now the squeeze on the 78 is trying to fire long here. We are right up against resistance, so 34.39. So this is basically just a bullish play on the metals market. Gold was up earlier, haven't looked at it in a couple hours. But yeah, so gold had a nice move up. I don't know these wonky little trend lines I've got going on here. So I'm long the metals, and now trying to get short Amazon with about 9 minutes left. So I'm gonna try bumping this down a bit from $5 to $4.95. sometimes with these out of the money spreads, you have to kind of, be willing to sort of give up a little bit to get filled. I don't want to get too crazy here, but okay. So I had to go, so I dropped it down to 490. So basically, risking 490, I believe, to make like 480 or something like that. So pretty close to 1-to-1 here. So I'm short Amazon, and that has 16 days. So those are the January 25th weeklies. And really just looking for sort of, a bit of a breather here in Amazon. I'm not sure if this is the end of the move higher here for it, but with these shorter term squeezes kind of gearing up here and just such a long extended move up, we could see it move to 1500 and still be basically in an uptrend in this recent move. Now, I've talked about this a lot already, but I'm overall still pretty short the market. And let me show you just something I think that's kind of, I noticed this earlier today. So I was just looking at all the biggest ETFs, and this is one I hadn't really looked at before, VNQ. And maybe I should feel silly saying that, but so this is basically the Vanguard Real Estate ETF. And let me pull you up uh, the quarterly chart here with as much data as they have available. And for some reason, it's not zooming, but here, actually, let me just go to monthly. So here's a monthly chart of the Vanguard Index ETF. And as you can see, there's a big squeeze kind of coiling here. Um, and if this fires short, this could take this ETF down to something like $65. There's a lot of support there. But just a 50% retracement from this massive move up. And this is, if you look, this low was the financial crisis. So a 50% retracement of that move would put us around $55. And if this is any reflection of, the housing market, which I'm sure it is to an extent, this is the real estate ETF. Um, that's not a good sign in my opinion, and as you can see, you've got this nice kind of curve, and it really, in my mind, I mean, just instinctively, the eye kind of looks at this and thinks, okay, well, this looks like it's coming lower. Now, there could be a lot of chop back up and back and forth with this. A weekly squeeze like this takes weeks to play out, but you can see we've seen, so I've got volume average down here, and you can see anything above this little yellow line is above average. And some of the, biggest candles, or, yeah, I guess essentially bars we've seen have been selling volume. So I think that's just kind of important to look at with such a big ETF like that. And it really starting to, kind of looks like it's kind of gaining some momentum here. And I'm definitely weary of stuff like that just for the overall kind of, world economy and the market as a whole. But this is something big that I hadn't noticed until today. And once again, this is a Vanguard real estate ETF. So just about 5 minutes left in the session. Um, and let's just kind of look at a few things. Let's look at the VIX. So the volatility index here, and really it's kind of fallen apart here. I wouldn't say falling apart necessarily, but I mean, we had just so much volatility lately that even a day like this where you have a lot of stuff up, it feels just sort of boring. But you can see, actually, it'd be interesting to run this real quick before the close. Part of me kind of wants to try to get long volatility here. So that the low looks like it. Actually, Ah, dang it, I was running to the wrong point. Let's do this again. So I'm just trying to get kind of where support is for the VIX and where we're at now. So I definitely don't believe volatility's over, especially with Netflix reporting earnings soon. I mean, that I think is going to be quite a ride. Um, and with as explosive as a move as it's had to the upside, it wouldn't be outside. I mean, to me, it's sort of like they're kind of just, you know, had a nice bounce before it gets crushed again at earnings. And let me just see when it has earnings real quick. So Netflix reports earnings on the 17th. So a week from tomorrow, Netflix reports earnings. So usually kind of, and I didn't pay enough attention to that, but you can generally see that in the option chain. So if you look at the options for next week, yeah, and it's crazy as IV is really not as high as you would expect. It does get higher the following week, but let me just look at kind of where. Huh. Yeah, part of me wants to just buy, Netflix puts here, but definitely not going to do that. I mean, it definitely looks extended here, and I was short Netflix, but I kind of got shaken out. I just was worried that, we're going to see another face melting kind of rip in this, but really it just kind of chopped all day. But since I'm short Amazon, I don't want to double down. It is interesting though with Netflix reporting earnings next week. I mean, really, that could be the catalyst for kind of where the market heads next. I mean, in my mind, this looks like a pretty obvious spot for it to terminate. Um, looks like we've got just 50 seconds or so left. Let me just look at Netflix again here. Yeah, so it should be interesting kind of leading up with Netflix. Their earnings next Thursday. And if this thing gets rocked, that could drag the market back down with it and be kind of the end of this rally. And I mean, this, looking at this from a weekly perspective, this is not a very healthy market, seeing moves like that. So, and there's the bell. So that's really it for today, guys. I'm going to go ahead and record the video for tonight. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. If you are enjoying these sessions, please subscribe. And if you haven't tuned in the morning, I'm trading the open live as well. So I hope you can make it. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.